with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Regulation G, single restricted, actually going on to the in-game ranked ladder and actually officially being the current format. I wanted to do an updated restricted tier list for all the restricted Pokemon with the start of Regulation G officially now. I actually did a list at the start of like the announcement of Regulation G over a month ago, so if you guys want to check that video out, I'll leave a link to that in the video. Kind of just going up based off of like how everything really was when we first got Regulation G rule set announced, kind of predicting where everything was really going to fall and kind of basing it off of what I kind of was seeing played and kind of that type of thing at the start of the announcement of Regulation F. Now that we've had like a month of like playing the game, I guess technically like not like in-game, but like I'm sure you guys have probably all been playing like Regulation G already. Not many people have been playing Regulation F apart from the ones that want to get to Master Ball tier in the in-game ladder until it ended a few days ago. At least when you guys are seeing this, it was about a day ago when it ended. Or at least when I'm recording this. I'm not sure when you guys will be seeing this. But I just want to do an updated tier list of kind of everything that's really good right now. Because I know there's going to be a lot of people that are actually going to be building teams. And you guys kind of want to know what's good and what's bad and kind of that type of thing. So I've been playing a shit ton of Pokemon Showdown. I've also been playing in-game a lot on the casual ladder with a lot of rental teams, including my own teams and everything. So I've been playing a really good amount over this past month, especially after I made that last list about a month ago at the start of Regulation G's announcement. So top right in this, I'll throw a list on screen for you guys right now. I'll probably have some gameplay in the background if you guys just want to tab out and listen to me talk. Not going to be too much on screen. It's going to be mainly breaking stuff down and kind of talking, discussing stuff. If you guys have anything to add, let me know in the comments down below. That'd be great as well if I forget to add anything or talk about something. Got the list on screen. S tier is the stuff that's meta defining. These are the restricted that are the stuff that is like the best of the best. You can kind of just use these restricted that are just going to be the ones that pretty much just guarantee always do something. Like you can kind of slap them onto a team and they're always going to do something. They are what the entire format is based around. You need to have checks for these restricted, otherwise they just automatically win versus you most of the time, and they just take pretty much really no team building or like anything to really make them work. That you can kind of just throw them onto a team and kind of just roll people automatically, at least to a certain point where you like at like your lower ladder type stuff. A+ tier is your stuff that's above average. This is stuff that's kind of being held back by some of the meta type stuff, but still really, really good. A tier is just your average picks, nothing crazy, nothing really bad, just overall just your really consistent picks. There's a lot of options to team build around them, a lot of options to pair with them, that type of thing. I actually got a secretly broken tier below A tier. This is the stuff that I think is actually like going to be really good that nobody's really playing. Like the stuff that has pretty much no usage, like nobody's playing with it at all. Nobody's prepared for the stuff in secretly broken tier. And I think the stuff that I'm actually going to be putting in this tier, the few mons I'm going to be putting here, are actually like incredibly good. And you can actually maybe catch some people off guard, especially at the start of Regulation G format when it's officially going now. So maybe it'll change in the future, but at least as of right now, I'm going to be talking about some of those mons. B tiers are below average. C tiers are almost very situational. D tiers are pretty much almost borderline like garbage tier. There's really no reason to use these Pokemon at all, apart from maybe like one or two things. And then F tier is your trash tier. This is stuff you're not going to be using at all. If you want to use any of this stuff, you're better off just using like anything else. You're kind of just putting yourself at a disadvantage automatically just by using it. And it takes so many resources team building wise and like playability wise, and stuff has to go so right for it to actually work, to where it's just not even really feasible possible to actually like team build around or like make it work most of the time over like anything else. You're kind of just wasting your time using it on a team or trying to team build around it. Pretty much just stuff that you can maybe use. It's pretty much content farm stuff. If you're like a YouTuber like me, the stuff that you're going to be playing just to have fun on the casual ladder and try to get for shits and giggles. That's all it's really for mostly. So leave a like, subscribe, share the video. It's hop right into this. I'm not going to waste more of you guys' time. Like I said, if you guys want to tab out and just listen to me talk in the background, I'll probably throw some gameplay or something. Not going to be too much on screen. I'm just going to be kind of discussing and kind of going over everything with you guys. So that'd be incredibly cool. First, we got Koraidon. Koraidon, I think, had like an A tier last time. Koraidon's going right on up into S tier. I think Koraidon is right now is probably the best weather setter in the entire restricted format. It was one of those mons to where like everybody was predicting it to really move up. It had a lot of potential to really move up. It's overall just a really, really good mon. Oracle Pulse is just a crazy ability. You get the attack boost off, and you also set the Sun. There are so many team options you can pair alongside Koraidon, especially with the Sun. Walking Wig, Flutter Mane, I've seen Hisuian Lilligant. There's a bunch of other really crazy shit. Jump Bluff. Any of the Photosynthesis mons, like Raging Bolt. That type of thing. You could also pair, what is it? I think not grass types. There's some other like really cool mon I can actually pair with. I forgot what it exactly is off the top of my head, but there's a few really cool mons you can pair alongside this thing that actually make it really work well and kind of pair really well with it. So it's overall kind of a cool mon. Mainly ground types because you actually negate the water. There's T also works really well with Koraidon, like unlike a lot of the other stuff. Paired with actually works really well, which is one of the only mods that you're kind of seeing Landorus T ran alongside. I don't know. A lot of other really cool stuff. Overall, it's a really good mon. Really good move pool. You're commonly going to be seeing Terra Fire. I've also seen Terra Steel or Terra Fairy. Most commonly, you're going to run Terra Fire. Just mainly so you can't get burned. Usually, the most common items that usually on most Koraidons, you're either running Clear Amulet or like Life Orb. I also have seen actually played myself Choice Band, which also really works well. Just hits incredibly hard, especially just like nukes everything. You have really crazy good options. You have Dragon Pulse, Outrage. I've seen Outrage in like a Choice Banded set, which is like one-shots everything. As long as it's like not a fairy type, like it just drops. That's how much damage it does. It's crazy. And you're not intimidated, spam to death. Like otherwise everything just dies. You have Flame Charge to actually boost your speed. Flare Blitz, Collision Course is a really good move. You're also a mon that actually is not afraid of Incineroar at all. You pretty much one-shot most Incineroars, even like the really physically defensive ones, with Collision Course most of the time. You have Close Combat for more damage. A bunch of other really solid moves. It's a really good mon. It's one of those mons you kind of have to have some way to try to deal with it, because otherwise if you don't, like especially with how many things it really pairs well with, it just rolls your team. It's that good. Otherwise, Miraidon, I think I'm going to put Miraidon in A tier. I think Miraidon right now is just not really that good. It's one of those mons I think everybody was really using at the start of the announcement of Regulation G about a month ago, before the format went officially live. And the main reason why is because it was the first like electric terrain setter that we actually had, apart from Pincurchin, that was actually viable and actually did something. That wasn't just like dead weight, apart from like an ability spam. I think that's the main reason why. The main reason, like I don't think Miraidon is really the greatest right now, just mainly because Rillaboom is so common and like other terrain is just so common. Miraidon really relies on its terrain, especially with its team. It's a lot easier to keep up weather currently, like with stuff like Koraidon and even like Groudon and Kyogre, than it is to keep terrain on your side of the field. There's also stuff like Chien-Pao running around with like Ice Spinner and a bunch of other stuff that's actually running like Ice Spinner. And even people are actually running like their own like self-proccing terrain with like electric terrain and like Thunderous and stuff like that type of thing, to try to like negate other people's terrain with how common it is. You have Psy Spam running around, you have grassy terrain, spam teams running around right now. A lot of really common terrains. And the one thing Miraidon, especially with its team that really rely on terrain that are all Quark Drive users, most of the time you're going to be pairing with this thing, at least for most of your teams, you're going to have like at least one or two other like Quark Drive users at the very least to try to pair with its terrain. Like they all rely on the terrain, so if you cannot keep your terrain up, like you're just at such a major disadvantage. Not to mention, I think the only other major drawback to Miraidon is that like its coverage. The only coverage it really gets, and like not including Terra Blast, it only gets electric and dragon type moves, and then I think it gets Dazzling Gleam. Apart from that, it does not get really like any other coverage, so it gets pretty walled out by like a lot of steel types. And there's some ground types it kind of struggles with, stuff like Groudon. There's a few other things that also like to go Terra and like just resist a lot of your moves and kind of either do a shit ton of damage back to you or just straight up one-shot you back most of the time. One thing it does have though is it has some really decent bulk and also it's really, really hard. So a really good like Assault Vest user. I've also seen like Life Orb or Specs. There's a lot of really cool ways you can run it. Like it's not bad by any means, but I just don't think it's really as good as like some of the other stuff. And like another mon that also does counter is Terapagos, which is really common right now as well. And it's still like rising in usage. Terapagos, if you guys know, I think it's one of its abilities actually gets rid of terrain when it actually, I think, Mega or when it goes Terra. So that's just kind of another thing it has to kind of deal with. Still a really good mon, though. I just don't think it's as good as people thought it was going to be, and it's kind of showing that right now. Next, we got Terapagos. I'm putting Terapagos to A+ tier. Really, really good mon. I'm not going to talk about it very much because it's overall just a really straightforward mon. What you want to do with this thing is run like really bulky. You have Terra Starstorm that is a double spread move that just hits everything for neutral damage no matter what the typing is. It's just a great mon. You just set up Calm Mind as much as possible. You have leftovers most of the time. You pair it alongside like either a bunch of like Intimidate or like stat spammer mons with like Fake Out or Intimidate, or you pair it alongside like stuff like Comfey and like other supportive mons with like Screens or something, and just keep it alive the entire game. That type of thing. Has a lot of really good support options you can pair alongside it, and once it does get set up, like you gotta try to actually counter the thing before it gets set up, and like if it gets to like +1 or +2 Calm Mind, even especially like +2, +3, like the game's pretty much over at that point, because with Terra Starstorm you're just hitting so hard, you pretty much like one-shot everything if they don't have Wide Guard. So it's a really, really good mon. And the normal typing is also really good because you're automatically immune to Calyrex, which, spoilers, one of the other top tier meta defining mons. So you don't have, by default, you do not have to worry about Calyrex at all, which is huge. It's a really, really good advantage to have. Just a really good mon. I think Terapagos is really, really good. It's still even rising in usage currently. I think people are still realizing how good it is. Next we got Mewtwo. I'm going to put Mewtwo in Secretly Broken. No, hear me out, y'all. Hear me out. I know there's going to be somebody in the comments, oh, Mewtwo's fucking garbage. Hear me out. When was the last time you guys have even seen a Mewtwo on somebody's team? Let alone knew what it actually did. You probably didn't even know what it did. The one thing Mewtwo has, it has a crazy good special attack stat. It has a really good move pool. It is the 4th highest special attack stat out of all the restricted that we currently have, which is incredibly good. Now, you're going to probably want, oh, why don't I just use Calyrex? Well, the reason why you're going to use Mewtwo over Calyrex, everybody is way over-prepped for Calyrex, Shadow Rider, and like both of the Calyrex forms. Nobody is prepared for Mewtwo. I think the one thing Mewtwo actually has over Calyrex is it has like nuking single target like Psychic types moves, like Psy Strike. Psy Strike is a 100 base power move that damages based off of like the defense stat instead of like special defense stat, and it just nukes stuff. Coming off of a base 154 special attack stat is absolutely crazy. I think the only downside to Mewtwo is that like it's weak to a few common things like other Calyrex like Flutter Mane, but that's why you have like Terra. Usually if you run Mewtwo, like you're going like Terra Normal or like some defensive Terra, even like Terra Dark sometimes. I think that's the main thing. There's also, it has a really good move pool. Like, you can run it, like, any way you really want and kind of get away with it. I think the best way to actually run Mewtwo is just, like, on hyper offense. Just set it up with some stuff that either boosts its damage or allow it to just keep spamming moves, just dishing out, like, huge amounts of damage. I think that's what it's really, really good with. I actually have one of my own teams. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet, but probably after you guys see this video, I actually have one of my own Mewtwo teams that I've actually been doing really well with. I actually have it, like, on a team with, like, Chi-Yu and a bunch of other really crazy stuff. And it just nukes. You give this thing like a life orb or like even like a choice specs and stuff like that. I wouldn't recommend running choice specs because I think one of the advantages you really like is having a lot of really good coverage moves and you want to switch up your moves. You can even run like Sash or something too. There's a lot of items you can run, but I think the best item on Mewtwo is probably like Life Orb or like Expert Belt. I think if you really want to run it right now, you have Shadow Ball for like Calyrex and like other Psychic types. You have Aura Sphere for Incineroar, otherwise you get walled by Incineroar and like other Steel types. And then you run like Psy Strike and then like either Protect or like another coverage move. I think that's how you run Mewtwo currently. Or even like Calm Mind if you really want to run that. If you can get like one Calm Mind up, you can kind of just sweep everybody's team if they don't outspeed you. So I think Mewtwo isn't secretly broken just mainly because like nobody's really prepared for it and like nobody knows really what it really does. I think that's kind of what it kind of isn't secretly broken tier. There's going to be some people that disagree with that, but I don't give a shit what anybody says. I think Mewtwo is actually incredibly good. You just need to have a team built around it that can support it decently well, and like you can catch a lot of people off guard because people do not realize how hard this thing actually hits. It has crazy stats, like at least offensive stats, and like its bulk ain't as bad as like most people say either. Like usually you can live like at least one strong neutral hit most of the time, and like one shot something back at the very least. people think it's really frail, but like at the most times, like even when I've been using Mewtwo, like even like strong neutral moves, as long as they ain't super effective, like you usually live, just like with your normal bulk, like without any investment at all. So I don't know. And usually it's like one shot or like two shot and outspeed on the next turn, like whatever that's going after you anyways, so it doesn't really matter. Cool Mon, I think the only drawback to Mewtwo is like your abilities are both garbage. You have Unnerve and Pressure, which don't really do anything. And like a lot of Incineroar are currently actually switching from Citrus Berry over to Safety Goggles because of Moongus is kind of rising on usage again, so I don't know. So both abilities don't really get much use at all unless they have like a damage reducing barrier or happen to have a citrus. I don't know. Apart from that, I think it's secretly broken. Kind of more of a in-depth discussion on Mewtwo. Hopefully you guys at least kind of take something out of that, at least take some kind of explanation out of that and kind of put it to use if you want a team build around Mewtwo. Lugia, I'm going to put Lugia at like a B tier. Actually, I'm going to put like C tier. I don't think it's that good. I think the main problem with Lugia is like it requires a Terra and like it just needs so much setup to actually start doing damage. I think that's the main problem. Like Terapagos has decent offensive stats and also has a way better typing, at least to like set up and that type of thing. I just think if you want to use like a setup mon like that's like Lugia, just use Terapagos because it does pretty much the same thing like 10 times better. Like I think the only problem with Lugia is like it has decent speed and like really bulky and like multi-scale is really good, but like it either requires a Terra and it's like really Terra reliant or like the damage numbers it does. Like you can sit there and survive, but like you need a lot of setup to start doing really solid amounts of damage. And by that point, like either your opponent's just like double targeting down everything on your team and trying to make the match like a 1v3 or like a 1v4. Or like it takes forever for you to set up to where like you're just taking so much damage anyways, to where maybe you can trade or like take one of their mons out and then die in return. And at that point, like why even bother? That's kind of the main thing I've seen with Lugia and played with Lugia on a lot of my teams that I've used. So I don't know. I don't think it's really that good. Ho-oh I'm going to put in B tier. I think Ho-oh was actually pretty good. The fire flying typing actually is a pretty solid typing, especially with really good special defense stat that it has. Regenerator's pretty good. It has Sacred Fire. You can run Clear Amulet it ain't too bad. It has decent coverage. Like it's one of those mons I think can be good if you really want to build around Ho-oh. Like you can build around it and has decent Terra options. I just don't know if it's really worth building around when there's so many other better things. I think Ho-oh will be like a million times better and like in dual restricted paired alongside like a Koraidon or a Groudon. I really do. Kyogre, I'm gonna put Kyogre in A tier. I think Kyogre's average. There's a lot of really good stuff in Rain. I've actually seen there's actually a really common Rain team right now that actually has I think it's like it has actually like Bellibolt. Like it's a really weird team that actually has Kyogre, Bellibolt, and it has Basca Legion. There's a few other really crazy shit on it. And it's actually doing really well, like around Kyogre. I've seen a few times. There's like some common like rental team around that like everybody's using that's actually really cool. So there's a bunch of options you can paint, like Urshifu, Tornadus pairs are really good with it. Bunch of other stuff. It's overall really solid mon. And I think the one thing that you actually have is like you speed tie with Groudon, but like the most common weather setter right now is Koraidon, which you're able to change the weather for Koraidon because you're actually slower, so your weather actually stays up. So that's kind of one advantage you have. And like it's always really solid. Like the water typing ain't too bad. You also have Terra options like Terra Grass or whatever you really want to run. You have a decent move pool, Origin Pulse, Water Spout, Hydro Pump, like Thunder, Calm Mind if you want to run a Calm Mind variant, a few other things. So I don't know. Not too bad, man. Just you're kind of your definition of an average restricted currently. I think the same thing with Groudon. I'm going to put Groudon in A tier as well. Groudon's really fallen off. I think the main reason why people were using Groudon at the start of the announcement for Regulation G over around about a month ago up until now is just mainly because it was one of those mons that people kind of know how to build with and like everybody has either experience using or just kind of knows how to play as, unlike Koraidon. We didn't really know what Koraidon was capable of and like stuff to really pair with it and that type of thing was kind of more of a new mon. Groudon's kind of fallen off a little bit. Still really good. Like it has Precipice Blades, which is still a really good move. It has bad accuracy and like you're going to miss a lot of your moves with it when they actually do matter. At least I do. I have bad luck with it. But it has really solid bulk, like really solid stats. Sun's really good. Like if you don't want to use Koraidon, I guess if you want to use Groudon, you can make it work. But I just don't see there any reason to really use Groudon over Koraidon. I think just Koraidon's just way better. It does Groudon's job like 10 times better. It really does. And it's way faster. Here's Rayquaza. I'm going to put Rayquaza in Secretly Broken. Here's another mon nobody is prepared for. Weather is really common. You have stuff like Kyogre, like I said, Koraidon's one of the best mons current, like one of the meta mons that everybody's using, with like some of the most usage. There's also a few other weather, like I don't think sand's really that common, but like you can see you'll once in a while like run into snow with like Lola Ninetales and a few other things like Kyurem White and stuff. The one thing that actually Rayquaza does, it gets rid of the weather. And another thing is you can kind of bypass like any speed checks. Like you can run this thing like fully offensive, like run Adamant, and like you just run like Terra normal E speed. You throw a clear ambit on this thing, like you just destroy. It's a really, really good mon. Like nobody's prepared. I think it's one of those mons that like nobody's prepared for and is just really falling under the radar. Is Rayquaza. Nobody's prepared for like priority spam at all. Like, yeah, you have Psychic Terrain, which is kind of common as well, which kind of can stop that, but that's why you always, you can either, like, run it alongside, like, Chimpa with, like, Spinner, or, like, your own terrain, like Rillaboom or whatever. That type of thing. There's like, a lot of checks, that type of stuff, and, like, Quick Guard really isn't the most common. Everybody's just kind of running Wide Guard instead, so they don't really have room on a lot of their builds for Quick Guard. Frigoraph is kind of common, but, like, you don't really even need to run, like, E-speed into a Frigoraph because you outspeed it anyways, and like most builds of Frigoraph, a lot of them are actually more offensively based, so most times you can just one-shot them in return with like a Dragon's Ascent, or like do like at least 95% to them and just take them out on like the next turn. I've actually been running I actually have a team that I'm actually probably going to bring in game that I've actually been doing really well with Rayquaza. And actually, I haven't even been running like a Dragon move. I don't even think you need a Dragon move on Rayquaza at all. Just run Dragon's Ascent and like run E-speed along with like Swords Dance and Protect. I think that's all you really need. You do get walled by Steels, but like that's what team building's for. You can throw like Fire type or something on your team to kind of deal with the Steel types. And like the Steel types really aren't that common. Like there's like I think the most common one's probably like Zamazenta and maybe Zacian once in a while. Apart from that, there really isn't the most common like restricted Steel types, so you don't have to worry about them that much. And if you do run into them, like you can kind of team build for them. So Secretly Broken for Rayquaza. Nobody's prepped for this thing, and I think nobody's like this thing just really falling under the radar right now. It's incredibly good. Like nobody's prepped for it at all. Nobody's using it. Has like nobody using it. Like nobody's prepped for it at all. You kind of can just take advantage of both those things. Really, really, really good. You got Dialga Origin form. I'll put this at B tier. If you want to use Dialga, this is probably the better one to use. Granted, though, I don't know if you'd really want to use this. I don't know, like, there's not really much reason to use it, but if you really do want to use it, I guess you can. It has Telepathy, like, it has Trick Room, it has decent stats, decent typing. Regular Dialga, there's no reason to use this. I actually think regular Palkia, it'll be way better in double restricted, but there's no reason to use regular Palkia at all. Palkia Origin, I'll put at, like, the same tier as the Dialga. This thing is actually decent in Rain. Like, the main problem with this is actually you have to run, like, your own manual, like, Rain setters. You're forced to run either Politoed or Pelipper, and then either like Tornadus or something else that's able to get up the rain manually. Unlike Kyogre, where you can just set up the rain with your restricted, that takes like your ability rain setter away. You don't have to really worry about it. And, like you have higher speed. You have like 120 base speed, but like that's not really even enough to outspeed a lot of other things. So I don't know. Like that's not really high enough speed to outspeed a lot of stuff that destroys you. And, like, it's okay to outspeed some of the slower stuff, but, like, a lot of the slower stuff lives a hit from you anyways, and just one-shots you back most of the time, so kind of an awkward place for Palkia Origin. I don't know. Has a decent move pool, though. Decent typing, like Water Dragon's a decent offensive typing. It has Terra that I can use, which is pretty good for it, so I don't know. If you really want to build around, you can. I'm going to put it in, like, B tier, though, because there's a lot of better options. I'd actually just use Kyogre if you want to run Rain. Giratina, this mon is awful. Both of these Giratina forms are both going into F tier. I don't give a shit what anybody says. I've featured a Giratina team for you guys on the channel recently. You guys seem to enjoy the team. It did pretty good, but like I don't know if like I tried building my own team around Giratina and it failed really badly, so I don't think it's that good at all. And like I have not seen Giratina at all on Showdown. I've played over like at least like 100 to like 200 games on Showdown over the past month, just like building my own teams and like testing teams to use for ranked when I can actually have time to bring them in game. And I have not. I think I maybe ran at like one Giratina team. I might have. I just don't remember. Apart from that, I have not ran into like any Giratina teams at all. And there's a reason why. It's just a really bad mon, awful mon. It just doesn't do anything. And why would you ever pick a restricted that just doesn't do anything? If you want to use a Dragon Ghost type, just pick Dragapult. You'll probably even do stuff with Dragapult because it has a pretty high speed stat. So at the very least, it'll do something. Giratina, like you're using it, you're taking up your restricted. Most of the time, you're going to be using a Terra on it, so that's your Terra gone. And then at that point, like, what does it even do? Like, it just doesn't do anything. Reshiram, I do think Reshiram can be okay. I'll put it in like B tier, but like, I think it'll be one of those mons that's just going to be way better in double restricted. I can see this thing as like a second restricted on like a Sun team alongside like Koraidon. I can see that being really, really good. Or like Groudon. A lot of these, the restricted that aren't really the greatest, like, are going to be a lot better in double restricted because the one thing that they really need is like another restricted to kind of pair alongside them to enable them. It's kind of a lot of problems like a lot of this restricted mons currently have. Zekrom, this thing's bad. I really love Zekrom. Like, it's one of my favorite Gen 5 legends. It's really, really bad. I actually have a Zekrom team I'm actually going to be featuring for you guys when you guys are seeing this. You should be seeing it probably the next day or two. I got a Zekrom team that somebody actually built that actually seems really, really good. I'll be featuring for you guys on the channel because we have not actually even used it yet. Haven't even used it on the channel for you guys, like featured it for anybody. So I've been trying to like feature all the restricted mods. Like I can barely find like a Zekrom team around, even built around it. So that just goes to show you how bad it is. And like the one or two teams I found, like they're good, but I don't know. You just don't see it. And I think there's a real reason why. Like, why would you use Zekrom over Raging Bolt or even like Miraidon? If you want to use a Dragon Ghost or a Dragon Electric type, just use Miraidon. A Kyurem Black. I think Kyurem Black is actually pretty bad. The main problem with Kyurem Black is you want to run 2 items on this thing, but you can only hold 1 item. This thing wants to run loaded dice, and it also wants to hold a clear amulet at the same time, but that's not possible. So the main problem with Kyurem Black is that Intimidate is everywhere. You either have Landorus or you have Incineroar, which is the most common Intimidators running around. Then you have a bunch of other shit that just kind of shuts you down. That's just the main problem. You have like Parting Shot spam from like Grimmsnarl and Incineroar, a bunch of other shit too. It's just really... Like, you're also pretty slow, so like you're forced to Terra a lot of time to live a hit. And at that point, is it really worth... I don't know, you have like Flutter Mane, like a bunch of other stuff running around that just kind of does a shit ton of damage to you. I don't know. It's one of those mons where I just think it's just not that good, mainly just because Incineroar exists and like there's a bunch of shit that just counters it and there's just no reason to really use that at all. And plus that, like, you have pretty limited move pool. Like, if you don't have loaded dice, like, what do you run? Like, I think it gets Dragon Claw. I think it might get I forgot what other, like, physical ice move. I don't even know if it actually gets another, like, physical ice move. What is Glaciate? I think Glaciate might actually be a physical move, but that's a 2-turn move, I think. So, like, if you're not running loaded dice, then I don't know what you run with it. And if you run Clear Amulet, like, what are you running? It's really, kind of a really weird mod. I don't know. It's kind of why I don't see it. Not trash tier, because it has crazy good stats. Like, with the stats it has, I can't put it in F tier, but if you really want to build around it, you can, but there's just so much other better stuff to use. Kyurem White, I think, actually has a really decent niche. I'm going to put in, like, B tier. It's good with snow. It's kind of like the thing that kind of replaced Articuno on, like, a lot of snow teams. Spam Blizzard alongside, like, Alolan Ninetales or, like, manual snow if you really want to do that. Apart from that, it just doesn't really do much, though. Like, it's really good. I think the main problem is just really slow, and if you really want to survive a lot of stuff, that just outspeeds you. You either have to run it under, like, Trick Room, which its speed stat isn't low enough to really take advantage of, or you run it under Tailwind, which isn't really, like, the fastest monitor Tailwind either, so kind of an awkward spot, and then either you're forced to Terra to live a hit and that type of thing, which I'm not sure if that's really the greatest. It's a lot better options, but it's not bad at all. I think it's probably the best restricted if you want to use the snow weather. If you want to restrict it to pair it really well in snow, I think Kyurem White's probably the best one to use currently. Regular Kyurem, there's no reason to use this at all. Cosmog, F tier. Cosmome, F tier. Memes. Solgaleo is going to C tier. I think the only reason to use Solgaleo is just because its ability is actually really good right now, because you don't have to worry about getting intimidated or like you have your stats spammed with like Snarl or like anything like that. I think that's the main thing. Apart from that, it's a mon that's just really Terra reliant, because Psychic Steel really is not the greatest typing, especially when you're in a format dominated by like Flutter Mane and Calyrex and a bunch of other stuff and some really hard hitting ground fire types. There's not really. It really struggles, and it's really Terra reliant. I think that's the main problem with it. But at least you don't have to run a clear amulet. That's one thing it has over some of the other restricteds, I guess. Lunala, I think I'm going to put in like an A tier. I think Lunala is actually really, really solid. I don't think it's incredibly good, because it's always going to be shut down by stuff like Calyrex and a few other things. Like, you're kind of forced to Terra a lot of the time versus some of those, but overall it has a really good move pool and a few really good sets you can run, like Meteor Beam or like full-on Trick Room. There's a few good sets you can run with it, and I think it's pretty solid. Duskmane Necrozma C tier. Really awkward mod. It has really good stats, but like its speed, I think it's like 77 speed, so like you're getting outsped by a lot of the other Trick Room users, but like you're not really slow enough yourself to actually take full advantage of it, so kind of a weird speed stat. It's not really slow enough or not fast enough to really be ran on like Tailwind or like speed teams, so it's really hard though. It's an okay mod. Kind of the same thing as like Solgaleo, it's just kind of whichever one you really want to use. They're both kind of the same. And then you got Dawn Wings Necrozma. I'll put Dawn Wings. I think I should put Dawn Wings in like, I'll put in the same tier as like Lunala. I think if you want to use one like Lunala or like Dawn Wings, they're both kind of the same. It's kind of just whatever one you really want to bring, because they both kind of do the same thing. Just whatever one you really want to use. Necrozma, really bad. I actually have a Necrozma team I'll actually be featuring for you guys. I have not found like anybody building around Necrozma at all, and I even tried to build it around it myself here recently, and I could not get it to work with how bad it is. And if I can't get a mon to work, no matter what I try with it, there's a real problem. I think Necrozma is really, really bad. It just doesn't do anything. Like, what does Necrozma do over like anything else? Like, there's just no reason to run it at all. Put the regular Zacian in F tier. There's no reason to run this. Same with the regular Zamazenta. There's no reason to run both of these at all. Zacian, I'm gonna put it A tier. I think Zacian's average. I think when it works, it's actually really good. I think the main problem that's holding Zacian back is you're forced to hold the rusted sword. If this thing was actually allowed to hold an item, you can actually get around like the stat spam with like Intimidate spam and like Parting Shot spam from like Incineroar and like a few other things. And like you wouldn't have to worry about like your attack pretty much just being gone, because I think the main problem is like Intimidate is so common, so like the one thing you do get is the attack boost. Like most of the time anyways, you're just going to be going right back to neutral attack anyway, so it's like you don't even have like an item, and like your item doesn't really do much for you. And if you switch out, it doesn't proc again either, so kind of worthless. When it does actually work, like Zacian's really good offensive. Like I think it's the second fastest restricted in the format alongside Calyrex. I think it's 148 base speed, so it's really fast. It has a really good typing, and it has a really solid move pool. It has really solid stats as well, but it has a lot going for it. But at the same time, like I don't know if it's really the right format for it, just because Intimidate is so common, and like there's a few other kind of things that kind of shut it down pretty easily. So I don't know. When it does work, though, it can sweep teams. I think it's probably the best like Stellar Terra restricted as well if you want to use one of those. I think actually if you want to run it, though, I think you're actually better off running like a defensive Terra, like a Terra Water currently, though. Stellar Terra is good if you want to run full offense, but there's just a lot of really hard-hitting mons that can just kind of one-shot you back if they happen to live. And especially with Intimidate being so common, you're not going to be at +1 most of the time, so you're going to have to go based off like neutral attack, which is still really strong, but you do miss out on some KOs if you don't have your +1 attack boost, so you kind of have to go for more of a defensive Terra, I think, if you do want to use Zacian. That's what I've been finding. Zamazenta is going to A+ tier, y'all. Never did I think Zamazenta was going to be better than Zacian, but here we are. And I think the main reason is You don't have to worry about Intimidate with Zacian because you get the +1 defense boost and you can't get rid of it at all. You also have some really common, like really solid move pool. You have Coaching, you have Wide Guard, Iron Defense, Body Press, Behemoth Bash, Heavy Slam. Some really cool options. It's overall a really good mon. You also have a decent typing, like your Neutral to Fairy. Steel Fighting is an okay type, not really the worst typing at all, so pretty solid mon. I actually think Zamazenta is really, really good. You're seeing a lot more people actually preparing for Zamazenta too. It's really rising in usage. It's one of those mons that's really on a higher usage currently. Everybody's starting to use it with how good it actually is. People are finding how good this mon actually is, and they're starting to use it at this point, so... Never did I think it was going to be better than Zacian, but here we are because Incineroar is back, and, like, Intimidate spam is just so fucking common. Same with, like, Parting Shot spam and, like, Stat spam. Just really common on a lot of teams. There's also a lot better checks to, like, Zacian defensively than there is to, like, a setup variant or, like, Body Press type stuff. So I think Body Press has a lot more stuff that you can actually do with it over, like, Zacian. I really do, like, offensively. So, at least currently. I'm going to put Eternatus in Secretly Broken. This is another mon that I think nobody's using. Nobody is prepared for Eternatus at all, and nobody is using this mon at all. It has really good stats, and has a pretty solid typing of Poison Dragon, which is a really unique typing. You also have really good HP. I think it's 140 HP and 130 speed. Decent offensive stats, decent bulk. You can get Pressure, which is a really decent ability. It's one of the only restricted that actually has self-recovery as well. You get Recover, you get Cosmic Power, get a decent move pool, Flamethrower, Dynamax Cannon, Sludge Bomb, Sludge Wave, a few other things. So, really solid mon. I think if you want to run this thing, you actually run like with a fully offensive like Meteor Beam set, like get the +1 boost with the Power Herb, and like just go fully offensive with the team under like Tailwind and that type of thing. Because nobody's really prepared for this, and like a lot of the stuff that people are prepared for is like either weak to Dragon or Poison. So like you can get around a lot of stuff that people are running currently with that typing. Putting that into Secretly Broken tier. If you guys want a really underrated, really good mon that nobody's using and nobody's really prepping for, I think Eternatus is one of those other mons that's really, really good. You could also run it like full stall as well. Like run it really bulky with like max HP and like some defense and Spit F and a little bit of speed, and like run it under like with like a stall team with like Pressure to stall it and PP stall everybody out and just Recover and Cosmic Power spam until they run out of PP or just Rage Quit on you. It's one of those mons that can, one of the best like stall restricted as well if you want to run like a stall team. Regular Calyrex going to F tier. Not going to talk about it at all. You guys know why it's bad. Then we got both Calyrex forms. I might as well rank them both and talk about them both at the same time because they're going right on up to S tier. Nothing was changed, and like the prediction at the start of the announcement of Regulation G about a month ago said the same thing. Both of these are broken. I don't think you can actually like even need to build a team around like both of these at all. I think Calyrex Ice is one of those mons where you can run this thing on under Trick Room, but like you can also even run like on like fast offense teams, and it's bulky enough to live a lot of hits and just one shot everything in return anyways. So like you can kind of just run it under like whatever you really want. Same with like Calyrex Shadow. Like you ain't gonna be running Calyrex Shadow under like Trick Room, but like you can kind of just throw it onto a team and it's always gonna do something. It's one of those mons that these are two mons that you need to prepare for, otherwise you just automatically sweep your team. That's why you need Wide Guard, you need like some like check like defensive like normal Terra or like a Dark Terra or something to check both of these, or like an offensive Terra or like an offensive mon that's able to outspeed under Tailwind or like with a booster or something to offensively check them. It's broken. I don't know. I wish they would not have even like allowed both of these mons into the format, because I think the format would actually be way more fun without both of the Calyrex forms, the Shadow and the Ice one. I think they are two mons that every time I go against them, I'm questioning myself, yeah, why am I playing this format? This is so unfun. They make the format so unfun to play, and they really restrict your team building, because if you do not have anything for them, like if you run into like a Ghost or like an Ice Calyrex team, it's just absolute fucking hell going against them. Either you get swept, or you're forced to try to play around it with stuff that you don't really have, and either like something else on their team ends up sweeping you or being really good into you, or they just end up sweeping a late game anyways, and they take all like the one thing you have for them, and they just end up sweeping you anyways. So It's one of those mons that you need to have like multiple checks. You can have like one check and maybe be good, but I think you need to have like multiple checks for him on a team because they also have Terra option, which is usually like Terra Fairy or like Terra Fire and Terra Water on the ice one, like Terra Fairy on the Ghost one. I've even seen like full offensive Terras and just so they're able to like nuke you like turn 1 and guarantee the 1-hit KO and just do as much damage as possible, even on stuff that's like resisted with how much damage they do, just so they're able to start sweeping you even faster. Incredibly busted. And I think they both can set up Trick Room as well. They have a bunch of decent support option, Nasty Plot, Trick Room, a few other things. Incredibly good. So busted. I'll put them above Koraidon. Oh, I think they're way better than Koraidon. Koraidon's S tier because it's the best weather mons, like the other like best mon currently. But like, if you want the 2 best mons in the format, they're the both Calyrex forms. There you go, y'all. There you go. And funny enough, I think one of the best checks to actually Calyrex is Terapagos, and that's why Terapagos is actually being used a lot right now, is because Terapagos is kind of able to deal with Calyrex Shadow pretty well, especially if it's able to set up. They don't really have much for you, so like I guess not really for Cali Ice, but like one thing that's actually really good into Cali Ice is Zamazenta, especially if you can actually start like setting up with Iron Defense. You can kind of. They have high horsepower and like a few other coverage moves, but like your defense is going to be so high anyways, like you're not going to be taking much damage, and like you can do way more damage back with like body press, or even like if they want to tear on you, like you can get a few other coverage moves that you can kind of hit them with. So I think that's why like some of the other mons or some of the other restrictions are kind of rising up in use, which is mainly to counter to like Calyrex and Calyrex Ice. Broken mons. I'm not going to sit and rant on how busted they are. This fucking ridiculously busted. I don't know why they're even legal. If it was up to me, I wouldn't have made them legal because I think they ruin the entire format and they really restrict team building, which is one of the main frustrations I've been having with the format currently, at least up until this point. It's like the frustration with like team building being like restricted to using like certain things to try to check Calyrex. Otherwise, you just get swept by it every single fucking game. So I don't know. That's the list, y'all. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If I forgot something, let me know as well, or let everybody know. If you guys like the video, leave a like, subscribe, share the video. Got a bunch more stuff on the way. I got a team around Zekrom that I'll be featuring for you guys. Necrozma. I got my own Mewtwo team that I'll be featuring for you guys here in the next few days. Got a bunch of other stuff as well. So apart from that, I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for watching, everybody.